Links to join the channel. Come over here over at subscribe. I got a mailbag. So mail me some comics and none of these SJW comics, if you please. So if you want to know what's going on in comics, the simplest way is to read the comics and look for the blue and green eyes. Sounds crazy. It's really not. If the characters have their heads shaved or they're racially ambiguous and they're portrayed as the antagonists, you simply wait until they zoom in on the eyes. If they're bad and they want you to know they're bad, then they will have green or blue eyes. It's literally just that simple. Go read 100 mainstream comics. Draw a little chart. The correlation is going to be very tight. So comic book store closing in LA. And actually there's a Scottish publisher, a comic indie publisher that just went out of business last week. So LA's oldest comic book store is closing. Shocking, I know. Started in 1977 and forced to close its doors. Gosh, what could the reason be? He actually goes through a lot of reasons, and he has health issues as well. But I mean, if the industry was strong, the industry would be strong. When there's demand, you find a way around it. And he talks about the Wu flu and the insane soy pussies response people had to the Wu flu was really part of it. The overreaction people had to that was absolutely nuts. I don't know if can I say that on YouTube now? Are the rules a little bit more relaxed? I just washed my hands a little bit more, and that was about it. But a lot of these weirdos wouldn't leave the house, and that included not going to retail stores like comic book shops. But let's be honest, if the product was in demand, the stores would be just fine because people find a way for the stuff that they want. And the product's not in demand. I don't know what people buy it for. The covers maybe, but even that's kind of going out because it's a generational thing, and they've cut off the generations in the past 10 years. So comics suck, and the mainstream modern stuff is written by fat pussies for soy boys who are trying to be feminists or what they think a male feminist should be, and cat ladies who hate these same soy boys. I've read my fair share of comic books over the past few years, and I've done many reviews on them. Oddly enough, I never paid for them because they're not worth paying for. And what you take away from modern comics is that the writers hate anyone of European descent, and they focus all their hate visually on light hair, blonde or red hair, and blue or green eyes. It's just that simple. I know it sounds a little, I don't know, OCD to keep pointing out the hair color and the eye color, but if you go through 100 comics and keep that template in mind and overlay it over the comics where you just have a little checklist. Antagonist, eye color, hair color, eye color, hair color. You're like, oh my gosh, the correlation is like 95%. That's insane. Yeah, that proves bias because it's not a fair representation. And yeah, I know I've said it a million times, but that simple metric is how stupidly simple it is to determine the protagonist versus the antagonist. Can you make an antagonist dark hair, dark eyes? Well, no, because then people will think he might be Asian, he might be, Indian, New World, POC or something. And what's wrong with that? Why do you make them always blue or green eyes? Because we want you to hate the European person. Yeah. So how are the sales doing? Not so well. Modern comics are insufferably woke. They're written by the worst people on earth. Comics used to be written for a male audience, and most of the audience also had blue or green eyes. But modern BLT comics are written by women or men who are trying to be women, and they're misandrist and anti-white. So why would these males buy these comics? European people are awesome. We know we're awesome. We're not the problem in this situation or any situation. Like, we know that to the core of our being. So when we see this kind of stuff that's not in accord with reality, we know the problem is on the writers of these comics. It's not on us. We're not the problem. Yet every comic you read is blonde man bad and a POC girl has to put him in his place with her superior intelligence. A great example is that it was the first Black Panther when the 2 or 3 smartest male scientists in the world meet Shuri, and she has to put them in their place because she's a POC. So thus she's smarter than these other fair-skinned guys. Because so let me ask you something. Why would your average boy who buys comics, spends his $4 or $5 or sometimes $8 for some stuff, why would he want to read something so absolutely stupid that is not in accord with reality? He knows he's awesome. He knows he's not the problem because he can go on social media and watch the way of the world in real time. But in comics and increasingly in movies, it's always POCs who are the heroes, the Mary Sue purse puppies. And the people of the light are the bad guys. He knows that gangsters, terrorists, and criminals are not overrepresented by his tribe. But in comics, for some wacky reason, they are. So why would he want to buy this absolute anti-white racist cancer? Well, it turns out that he doesn't want to buy those comics, and the female POC audience magically has not materialized to pick up the slack in the industry. No, we're going to get rid of the white audience. Okay, and you're going to replace it with nobody. Absolutely nobody. But that's not a business model. You just, the sales will decrease and the stores will go out of business. Yes, and that's what's happening. Why are you doing that? Because we just hate the audience that much. So that's why the industry is shrinking, and manga and Comicsgate is doing so well, because manga doesn't do this kind of stuff. Oh, but manga is like for istophobic. Yeah, but manga is 90% of the American audience. Why do you think that is? Mainstream Bolshevik comics industry. So Ms. Marvel is a little POC girl, except POCs don't read comics, and the people of the light don't want to read POC stories. Why would they? They want to see people who look like them. If little POC girls bought comics, I would say, oh, by all means, sell to the audience. But they don't buy comics. Little blue and green-eyed boys buy comics, or at least they used to, but you're not selling to that audience because you hate them. In modern comics, all the bad guys have blonde hair or red hair, so comics are failing and stores are closing because of this cultural Bolshevik propaganda. The Wu Flu didn't really kill comics because it happened way before the Wu Flu. The Wu Flu was only 3 years, and it was really only a year and a half of people losing their minds. Globalist anti-white stories killed comics because boys don't want to read stories about how much this industry hates them because of the color of their skin and apparently the color of their hair and eyes. Dear comic industry, can you show non-white gangs, terrorists, and other assorted evil people and not make every bad man or woman have blonde hair? At least to be fair, and not overrepresent European people as the most evil people on Earth, which we know we're not. Are we the best? Some would say. No, they can't do that. So comics don't sell because the people who write and control these stories would rather literally go out of business than write a story where a non-white is a gang member. Because that's like perpetuating the marginalized and oppressed systemic systems of oppression and stereotypes. You go, but is it true or not? It's like that actually doesn't matter. We're in a post-truth society. Yeah, you're also in a post-sales society. So stores close and publishers, and this I wish I go to that article. The Scottish publisher is closing because they're selling independent comics that are focusing on diversity projects, women in politics, anthology, and other kind of globalist, cancerous propaganda that shockingly nobody is into. Weird people don't want diversity projects in comics. So the women in politics, let me guess, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is going to be in there somewhere, and maybe Hillary Clinton. So the people you're trying to sell to don't exist? Yes, that's right. They're going to materialize? I mean, what is your philosophy on this? We're just stupid? And you went out of business? Yes, we did. I don't know what to say to that. These people are absolutely insane. Anyway, so yeah, they go out of business. Publishers go out of business. The infrastructure to sell comics disappears, and they lose generational buyers, which is critical. The mainstream is already over. They painted themselves in. I was actually reading some old Hulk comics last night from the 60s and 70s, I think. Fantastic art, fantastic stories, fantastic everything. It's just an era that you'll never get back. Is like right about 1968. That seemed to be just amazing stories back then. So the mainstream is over. They painted themselves in this corner where if they did show non-white bad guys, the social media people on Twitter would lose their freaking minds, and they would boycott the product that they don't buy anyway. And the publishers would take them seriously because they are. I mean, a lot of these people who work in this entertainment industry or the artistic fields, they are very toxically left-wing and just out of touch with reality. So one of the reasons for the store closing was people shifted to online buying of comics, which, if that was true, then the overall sales would be the same, right? Which I don't think is the case, because the comics were on their way out way before the Wu flu. Because these people are filthy liars, and they will gladly destroy an industry just so they continue to push this propaganda of blonde man bad. You know, what is it rather than, they would rather rule over ashes of this destroyed, shrinking industry than serve in heaven. If you could stop hating European people, your comics would sell. Sorry, that is a bridge that we just cannot cross. So stores continue to close. And if you want comics, you can go back and buy the old ones or read the old ones, or you can check out Comicsgate type of projects, independent comics for stories that don't hate you just because of your country of origin, which is what mainstream comics are. Like, it really is that simple. Hair color and eye color. You can go through comics and you go, oh, I can't help but, hey, I noticed this. I want to talk to you about it on Twitter. Blocked. Oh, I just can't help. It seems like you really hate people of European origin. Blocked. Uh, 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 okay, how are sales? Blocked. Good luck. Best of luck to you. Well, that's why people are willing to spend, $50 for a Comicsgate project a couple times a year, because the mainstream is such an insult. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Join us over at Subscribe. Sorry, I got a mailbox. You can mail me some Comicsgate projects. Nothing mainstream because it's not worth paying for. And I'll see you guys all next episode.